How to be a cleaning company that house cleaners want to work for. That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi there, I'm Angela Brown, and this is Ask a House Cleaner. This is a show where you get to ask a house cleaning question, and I get to help you find an answer. Now, today's show is brought to us by funnycleaningshirts.com. This is a funny cleaning shirts and gifts website where if you have a house cleaner and you want to buy them a gift, this is where you go. There are all kinds of amazing things like coasters and backpacks and face masks and t-shirts and hats and clocks and all kinds of stuff that have funny cleaning sayings on them. So check it out at funnycleaningshirts.com. I'll leave links in the show notes. There's also a free daily giveaway where you can win a gift and then give it to your house cleaner. I know, what is finer, right? All right, on to today's show. We have a special guest, Amber Starling from Good Witch Cleaning Company. And it's interesting because she's been a guest on our show before and now she's coming back to share with us how during the pandemic, when everything in many of our businesses is crumbling, how she's fought to keep her business afloat and she's fought to keep her employees employed. Here's her story.
Just to introduce myself, my name is Amber Starling. I'm located here in Manhattan, Kansas, where I own Good Witch Cleaning Services.
And how long have you been in business, Amber?
Been in business now for 3.5 years.
And I know that you've been a real inspiration to both your community and a lot of other house cleaners during this COVID period. Share with us a little bit about how your business has changed during COVID and some of the things that you've gone through.
Yeah, so COVID-19 has challenged me personally in a way that I've never been challenged before. We lost 60% of gross revenue overnight, and we just had to start making really hard decisions on like, how do we keep providing meaningful work for our employees while also keeping our clients safe? And more than that, as a company, who do we want to become? So we have like these assumptions about business where you're supposed to expand and you're supposed to cut costs no matter if that hurts somebody. You're supposed to compete for the largest market share. And if we had built our business that way, even going forward, nobody would hold it against us because they'd say, oh, well, you know, that's just business. You have to accept like some 80% success rate. So that's why like large corporations have an entire department just for fielding complaints because 20% of the time it's not even supposed to work.
Well, I happen to know you, and I know that you're not the cutthroat type of employer. So share with me some of the things that you've done during COVID that would kind of veer off that path a little bit, because I know you're not one to just fight for the business when it means you put your employees or your customers at risk.
So when we first got into it, I made a commitment not to lay anybody off. And so the first thing that I did was to eliminate my own salary. I haven't paid myself since March because, you know, I study Simon Sinek a lot. I love him. And so one of the things he talks about in Leaders Eat Last is how you have to create a circle of safety that doesn't just go around, you know, your family or your top execs. It has to go around everybody in the company. If it doesn't go around everybody in the company, then the company is worse off for it. People don't innovate. They're scared to make mistakes. If they make a mistake, they're more likely to cover it up. So that was a really big step in shifting our culture towards like, if you're here, you belong here, you're safe here, we value you. And it's really changed just on a metric side, our turnover rate. Nobody wants to leave.
Have you done anything unique or out of the ordinary in order to keep business for those people when maybe, let's say that you said you've lost 60% of your business, when maybe you didn't have actual work for them to do? Have they spun off in a different direction? Have you given them other tasks? How have you kept them employed?
Right. So we pivoted and pivoted and pivoted. We started working harder on gaining government contracts, on gaining commercial contracts. We got certified to do post-COVID-19 cleaning. And so we launched all three of those pivots at the same time with the idea that if two of them didn't work, hopefully one of them would. Actually, during this time, since we had a little bit of downtime, we got more employees with different certifications in the industry. We got more people certified in the last like 5 months than any other time in the history of the organization.
And so what do those certifications mean for you moving forward? Will you continue to do the post-COVID things, or will you veer back to your normal regular cleaning?
We're still doing quite a bit of residential. We don't have a huge number of commercial contracts, but they make up the majority of our gross revenue now. So doing that has allowed us to really push a lot of our emissions. So what we said was, we had been expanding aggressively, right? And we kept getting asked to compromise on some of our values along the way. Well, could you do it cheaper? And so one of the things that we finally just drew a line in the sand and said was, by 2022, we're going to have all of our employees making at least a living wage, period, hard stop. And so the commercial contracts have allowed me to be a better employer where people have a more set schedule, and the contracts, I can write the bid in a way that I can afford to pay them that amount. And so as we really hammer down on our why, which is now as plain as day, to prove that you don't have to be an evil company to be a successful company. And so that's what we're setting out to prove every day.
So aside from then keeping your employees employed and keeping them certified and picking up some new contracts and stuff, how are you managing the day to day, which I know it's happening, where your employees show up and every day there's an incentive, you have to remotivate them, or you have to inspire them, or you have to reassure them that everything is okay? Because I know that during this COVID time, almost every single company is going through the fear that they go home and their families and their relatives and the neighbors and the news are saying, we're in a state of fear. This is a calamity and it's going to continue. How do you motivate them and keep them inspired?
It's going to sound cliche, but like knowing their family members' names and asking them, how are you doing? Not a phone call, not an email, not a text, just like sitting down in the office and saying, how are you holding up, and meaning it? And telling them, we've been very transparent with our staff about how things are going, what steps we're taking, and what we're asking of them to keep everything moving in the right direction.
And is there a level to your transparency? Are you sharing everything with them, or are you sharing with them as much as you think they're able to handle?
Transparency doesn't mean sharing everything. Transparency means being clear in context. So like, I can't just hand them a balance sheet and expect them to understand it, right? But I can say, look, we've made this decision because, okay? So when you're giving them information in context and you're doing it in a way that's easy to digest, that's what I feel where transparency really lies.
And how has that been received from your employees as far as how they feel about the company?
It's been received really well. I have hired on staff that are incredibly competent. They're dynamic and innovative. And so when you're sharing information with them like that and you're treating them like whole adults, then they respond like whole adults. And so I've had it where I've had to look at timesheets and be like, hey, when you were here cleaning the office or straightening out your kit, you didn't clock in. And they're like, well, I don't want to clock in for those hours. I wasn't on a job site. And I'm like, well, but those are hours that you should get paid for. You were doing stuff for the company. And they're like, well, that's okay. I don't care.
It sounds like that's a lot of reciprocity, where you've been giving and they're giving back, and everyone is trying to work together in order to keep the business afloat, in spite of the fact that everybody and every business now is going through some really serious changes.
Yeah. We've really pulled together as a team. And I'm not saying that it's been easy. There are definitely struggles that we've had along the way. We didn't lay anybody off, but hours have been reduced across the board. And so we've had to make decisions like, okay, well, if somebody has other forms of income, and then we look at another employee who doesn't have other forms of income or has children to think about or stuff like that, then we kind of have to weigh who gets more hours so that we kind of spread that hurt across the board. And people still get their feelings hurt over it. It's a messy process.
I think messy is a good word, especially because right now, as a business owner, there are lots of business owners in the same situation where they are trying to keep the teams incentivized. They're trying to keep morale high. They're trying to juggle the lack of business or the changing type of business, like yourself, where you're taking on new contracts and different clients. Tell me about your health. What are you doing as a business owner to maintain your own personal well-being and personal health to manage everything that's happening right now?
Right. So I garden a lot. My little tiny garden is about the size of most people's living rooms, but I'm getting like, I don't know, half gallon of tomatoes a day off a single row right now. Being outside is really good for me. We trade out some services with a local gym. You and I have probably talked about it before, but I had a motorcycle accident, shattered my pelvis, wasn't supposed to walk again. Here we are. So I ended up doing a lot of my own like getting back to normal without a physical therapist. And so the gym that I'm working with is giving me some of that in return for cleaning services. So being able to go there and work with a personal trainer and sort of become more mobile and more strong and more independent has really helped. My husband and I have really worked on, because he works in the business too, like separating time where this is work time and this is home time. And you can just like shut the laptop, put it away, and we can watch cartoons. I never watched Avatar or Legend of Korra as a kid because it was like high school and I didn't have time. And so like now as an adult, experiencing those things for the first time has been just awesome.
Well, I laugh at you because my husband also suggests that television is a great outlet. And I've been fighting saying, but can I have my laptop in front of the TV because I still have work I have to do. So I love the fact that you've put it away so that you can, in fact, watch cartoons. In closing, is there anything that you'd like to share with our business owner listeners that will help them move forward through this pandemic?
What I tell them is to not be afraid to rethink the way that you do business. We had to get rid of a lot of contracts that were taking up time that weren't aligning with the direction that we were going in. And that's scary because we're already losing contracts, right? Like we're losing contracts that we're not counting on. And now we have to like give up more to take this new direction. Horrifying. So just the ability to stick with your vision, find that why, find the thing that motivates you. Simon Sinek says working hard for something you don't love is called stress, and working hard for something you love is called passion, right? So find that core reason that you do the thing that you're doing and stick with it, and don't be afraid to let go of the things that don't align with that anymore.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thanks so much for sharing that. Tell our listeners where they can go to find you.
So you can find me on Facebook, Good Witch Cleaning Services, LLC. You can also find me online, goodwitchcleaning.com. And if I ever get around to it, we will have just a fantastic blog.
Well, I look forward to it because I know it's going to be full of wisdom. Thanks so much for joining us today. This was awesome. Amber Starling. Alrighty, and that was Amber Starling with Good Witch Cleaning Company. And I'm going to leave links in the show notes so you guys can get in touch with her, especially if you're in the Kansas area. I always love talking to her because she's a wealth of information when it comes to being in tune with your employees and figuring out ways to keep them employed during these times when many of our businesses have shifted and we've all had to pivot as business owners. Alrighty, if you found this helpful, please pass it on to a friend. If we've earned your subscription, please subscribe. And until we meet again, leave the world a cleaner place than when you found it.